Hey guys, it's Val. What's up? So today I'm going to be recording my reading for the American Girl story, Addy, A Heart Full of Hope. Because as you can see, I just had neck surgery, spinal surgery. Also, I might have to do this in multiple segments. So if my clothing changes, my hair changes, background changes, anything like that, that's why. And I'm hoping next week I'm well enough to go on live. Otherwise, I'll just do another video next week. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out front so you guys know what's going on. Okay, so today I'm going to be reading from Addy, A Heart Full of Hope. Okay, so I'm going to be reading chapter 7, Hope and Determination. So here we go. The next morning, Addy felt hopeful as she walked along between Mama and Papa. They were all dressed in their Sunday best in honor of the Grand Review. Before they went to the parade, they went to the Quaker meeting house to deliver their letter. The Quaker Aid Society office was in a small room in the back of the building. "Good morning," a pleasant voice called to them. It was Mr. Cooper, who had helped them on other visits. He was smiling, and Addy smiled back. She liked Mr. Cooper. He had a kind manner. "It's good to see you all again," Mr. Cooper said. "How are you?" "We're just fine," Mama answered. "We're hoping for some good news about our family." "Did anybody answer our last letter?" Addy asked. "I'm afraid not," Mr. Cooper said. "But these things take time, you know?" "We've been finding that out," Papa said. "This waiting and not knowing is trying my patience." Mr. Cooper looked sorry. "It breaks my heart knowing so many families are divided," he said. "I wish I could do more to help. Just this week, 30 people have come looking for help finding their families. I know some of them will never be reunited." Mr. Cooper shook his head. Yesterday, a young man stopped by who had been coming here for months trying to find his mother. Just the day before, I had gotten word that his mother passed away, and I had to tell him that. Addy felt her throat tighten. She didn't want to think about her family getting news as bad as that. She was glad to hear Papa say in a short voice, "I'll tell you what, Mr. Cooper, my family can't give up hoping. Hope is all we got." "Hope and determination," said Mr. Cooper. He took the letter from Papa and smiled at Addy. "There's 2 good things you got working for you, Mr. Walker." From the Quaker meeting house, it was a short walk to the parade route. Addy and her parents joined thousands of people already lining the street under American flags and banners that swooped from building to building. The sidewalks were so crowded that some boys had climbed to the top of light poles to get a good view of the parade. The sound of clashing cymbals, booming drums, and brassy horns burst through the air. Addy liked the way the music sounded, so strong and proud. Addy stood on tiptoe to watch a band pass by. The musicians wore blue uniforms with gleaming brass buttons. Then Addy could see soldiers too. Hundreds and hundreds of them marched in straight lines. As far as Addy could see, the blue of the soldiers' uniforms filled the streets. The soldiers carried rifles, and many had shining swords hanging from their belts. Addy looked at their faces. She was surprised to see how young some of the soldiers were. They looked younger than Sam. A red-haired woman stood next to Mama and Papa, waving a small flag. She turned to them and said, "Look, there's my son. That's Jimmy. He's the one with red hair in the front row. You must be very proud of your son, Mama replied. The woman wiped tears from her face. I'm so glad Jimmy made it home, she said. My other son was killed in a battle in Virginia. Do you know what it's like to have your child die in a place you've never seen, and you never had the chance to say goodbye? We can understand your feelings, said Papa kindly. There ain't no greater pain than losing a child. The woman's story made Addy think of Sam. He wanted so badly to become a soldier. Had he become one? Would he ever come home proud and tall like these soldiers? As Addy watched the blue sea of troops flowing down the street, she felt tears fill her eyes. If Sam had managed to escape from slavery and become a soldier, he could be dead, and they wouldn't even know it. She felt another stab of envy for Harriet. Addy tried to put the worried and jealous thoughts out of her mind, but they were like stubborn weeds that refused to be uprooted. The next morning, Addy sat between Mama and Sarah in the women's section of the Trinity AME church. Sunlight poured through the tall arched windows, filling the church with golden beams of light. Addy couldn't wait for Reverend Drake to finish his sermon. After church, she and her parents were going to work in the garden. Addy squirmed with impatience. When Reverend Drake finished his sermon, Addy thought it was time to leave. But then he started to make an announcement. For many of you, the war isn't over yet, Reverend Drake began. Many of you still aren't at peace. The country was torn apart by the Civil War. Just after it finally ended, President Lincoln was killed. He gave his life trying to make the country one again. The war has torn your families apart. Many families are scattered. Your children lost, your fathers and sons, uncles and brothers, still not home with you. Addy sat up straight and listened hard. It seemed as if Reverend Drake was speaking directly to her. Some of you pray for healing. Maybe you have a loved one who is wounded in the war or is sick and in the hospital fighting for his life. You pray as hard as you can. God hears your prayers. Amen, Addy heard several voices call out. And God helps those who help themselves, Reverend Drake went on. That's why I'm asking for your help. Our church is going to put on a fair the second Saturday in July. We're going to raise money to help hospitals crowded with men who were wounded in the war. It will help families who were separated to find each other again. The money will help organizations that are taking care of the widows and orphans left alone by the war. Members of other churches will join us in putting on the fair so we can earn money for these important causes. Now, I am asking each and every one of you to join in this fundraising effort and work hard. Come to a meeting here at the church next Thursday to make plans. Will you be here? Amen, Reverend, shouted several people. Addy looked at Mama, who smiled back at her. Addy knew that she and Mama were thinking the same thing. The fair would help families just like theirs. They would work hard to make it a success. When Thursday night came, Addy, Mama, and Papa were among the first to arrive at the church to help plan the fair. When Addy went to the room for the children's meeting, Sarah was already there. Hey, Addy, Sarah called out. I saved you a seat. Addy and Sarah talked while they waited for the other children to arrive. When the group from First Baptist Church came in, Addy couldn't believe her eyes. Harriet was leading the way. Oh no, Addy said as she slumped down on her bench. Working with her is going to be as much fun as having a toothache. Harriet looked looked over at Addy and Sarah, but she acted as if she didn't know them. Mrs. Drake, the leader of their group, called the meeting to order. Children, we are here to decide on a project you can do to raise money at the fair. Now I think, Harriet interrupted in a loud voice, I know what we should do. Sarah nudged Addy. Here we go, she whispered. Bossy Harriet. Mrs. Drake finished her sentence. No, I think it would be best if you raised your hand before you speak, she said with a glance at Harriet. Harriet slowly raised her hand, but a boy from First Baptist shot his arm up in the air, and Mrs. Drake called on him first. The boy said, We could have a pie eating contest. Our church had one for a fall festival, and it was fun. Another boy raised his hand and said, Why don't we sell toy boats instead? Harriet raised her hand higher, and Mrs. Drake called on her. I think we should present a magic show, Harriet said. I will be the magician. I can pull rabbits out of hats and make things disappear. Addy thought hard while Harriet talked on about the magic show, telling the group how much they should charge for tickets, how many tickets they'd sell, and how much money they would make. Well, Harriet, interrupted Mrs. Drake, thank you. You certainly are fast at adding up figures. Does anyone else have suggestions for a project? Addy raised her hand and spoke. We can make spool puppets, she said. My papa showed me how to make them. They're real easy, and I could get free spools from the dress shop where my mama work. Sounds good, said Sarah. This is the picture of them at the meeting. I think so too, said the boy who had suggested the pie eating contest. All the other children liked Addy's idea too, except for Harriet. Puppets. How boring, she said. A magic show would be much better and much more fun. Spool puppets is a lot of fun, said Addy. You can make them move and dance around. Suddenly, Addy had an inspiration. I know. Maybe my papa could even make a little stage, and we could put on a puppet show at the fair. We could tell jokes and riddles. Then everybody would see how much fun puppets is, and they'd buy them. I think that's a splendid idea, Mrs. Drake said. How many of you agree? Everyone's hand went up, except Harriet's. Well, said Mrs. Drake, I think we've decided. We'll make spool puppets and put on a show with them. Let's meet here a week from today to start making our puppets. The children agreed and stood up to leave. Addy caught Harriet's eye and smiled smugly. Harriet made a face, but Addy didn't care. Her idea had won over Harriet's. On the way home from the meeting, Addy listened while Mama and Papa talked about the projects the grown-ups are going to do. The women's group is going to bake pies to sell and make quilts to raffle, Mama said. I said I'd bring some seedlings from the garden to sell too. That sounds good, said Papa. The men gonna build all the booths for the fair. Deacon Martin got a peanut butter wagon and said he'll supply free roasted peanuts for us to sell. I said I'd make slide whistles for you kids to sell. Papa turned to Addy. What's your group doing, honey? He asked. Addy smiled. We making spool puppets. She turned to Mama. Can you get us empty spools from the shop? I sure can, answered Mama. Good, said Addy. And Papa, could you build a puppet stage? We want to put on a puppet show. I can do that, Papa said. Thank you, said Addy. The puppets and the show were my idea. Everybody except that snotty Harriet liked my idea. She was so jealous that my idea beat hers. Mama and Papa were quiet. Then Papa said, You disappointing me with that boastful pride, Addy. You know the fair ain't a contest. Addy felt a warm flush of shame spread over her face. Mama said, I know you and Harriet hit it off like a dog and cat, but you're working together now. This is your chance to make peace with each other. I'm sorry I said what I did, Addy replied. I'm going to try harder to get along with Harriet. I promise. Mama squeezed Addy's hand. That's all we're asking, Mama said. That night, after Addy got ready for bed, Papa said, me and your mama need to talk to you about something. Addy was worried that Papa had some bad news. He and Mama were sitting at the table. Addy went over to them and asked in a worried voice, What's wrong? Nothing, Papa said. It's just that me and your mama changed our plans for me to go back to the plantation to get Esther. I don't have to wait until we sell our vegetables. Reverend Drake say the church's gonna give me some part of the money earned at the fair to help me on my trip. So I'm going in 3 weeks, right after the fair. Addy threw her arms around Papa, almost knocking him off his chair. This is the best news I ever heard. She sat down on his lap. Mama said, now that we have the garden planted, you and I can take care of it and harvest the vegetables and sell them. We'll need money while Papa's away and not working. And Papa's boss said he'll hold Papa's job for him while he's gone. Well, he ain't exactly promised me my job back, Papa said. He said if he got work when I get back, he'll take me on again. If not, I'm back to where I started, looking for a carpenter job. Addy was excited by the idea of Papa going to get Esther, but worries began to fill her mind. Wasn't it dangerous for Papa to go back to the plantation? And Master Stevens owned them. He could do whatever he wanted to them. Wouldn't Master Stevens be angry at Papa because she and Mama had run away? Addy hugged Papa closer. Ain't you scared to go back, Papa? She asked. Ain't you scared of Master Stevens? He ain't our master no more, Papa answered, and I ain't scared of him. But I'm sure he's still got guns and whips and them mean dogs too, Addy said, shivering. Papa drew back so Addy could see his face. Listen to me, he said. Slavery is over, and ain't no man gonna stop me from getting my family. Addy looked deep into Papa's dark eyes. They looked calm and peaceful. When I gone, you keep working in the garden, Papa said. Don't let the weeds grow back. And something else too. He held Addy close in his arms. Try not to trouble your heart with worry. Come on now, Addy, Mama said. You need to be getting to bed. Addy gave Mama and Papa goodnight kisses. They stayed at the table talking quietly as Addy snuggled under her quilt. She held her doll, Ida Bean, close to her. Slowly, slowly, the gentle, peaceful sound of her parents' voices carried her off to sleep.